Hey everybody, how you doing? I decided to make this late at night. I had this up, as you know, in fits and starts through the last 6 days, trying to find a right time to say this with everything else that's going on professionally, but also from a caregiver perspective. But I digress. I'm really completely at odds with the African American Sports Entertainment Group and how it's approaching the development of the Coliseum. So I'm just making that public. I don't, my issue is that they're too political. And right now, we should have an idea what the Coliseum is going to look like as a development. And that should go beyond just trying to get the NBA or the WNBA or the NFL or any sports league into the Coliseum. We should by now have seen a plan, at least a wireframe, a PowerPoint of intent. But what we've gotten is Ray Bobbin and Company designed it a Coney is it Coney up or Pony Up? I think it's Pony Up. Pony Up to progressive elected officials. All right. And I'm saying it like that because they're making it more a byproduct of this kind of microcosm of American divisional politics that's going on in Oakland. And they think it's going to work for them. And I'm telling you, it's not. It never works for developers to take these kinds of sides in a city that is more highly politically charged than it's ever been in its entire history. It's a gigantic, complete error, a mistake, and I'm calling it out right now. I'm saying, hey, you know what? Time out. This is not going to work. It's already not working. And the AASEG is going to turn around and they're going to find that, hey, their ENA is expired. And what then? Okay. They're going to be rushing at the last minute to get their entire act together. Now, they say they've got enough money to buy the Coliseum. Great. Or the ACE part of it, as well as, their part too, if they want to do all that over again, right? But that's not the point. They have to work with the A's. And making it public that they have the money really didn't help their case because the A's weren't, or should not have been expected to turn around and say, oh, yeah, great. We're going to let you buy this from us and therefore have your mitts on the key property that we've always wanted. You see, what Ray Bobbin and Company don't understand is that the Athletics Investment Group has property in several states. So the idea that the A's are moving to Las Vegas has nothing to do with their land interest desires and at all, and everything to do with baseball. The A's truly wanted to stay in Oakland. They were not joking, but the city itself doesn't believe it can accomplish anything of a large scale public private nature, so it doesn't try. It has degenerated the process. It is to a point where it doesn't pay attention to convention in terms of how to do an enhanced infrastructure financing district project. It plays politics with it, as you've seen. And at the end of the day, nothing gets done. The only focus that Oakland has had has been affordable housing because it's political, it's in our face, and it helps the elected officials get TV time. And that's the problem. The public professional has taken a back seat. Who's the project manager? You don't know. Do you know the first name of the economic development director? I'll give you a hint. It starts with an A. Okay? Allison. I can go on and on and on, but these are people that you should know, but you don't know. You don't know who they are. All right? Meanwhile, the AASEG tries to play for media time with white-owned media. They don't send a press release to me. And this is another really ugly pattern in black business right now. It doesn't matter if it's the AASEG in Oakland. It doesn't matter if it's the AASEG or the, well, um, NAACP. They will rush to white media first. All right. The Oakland Post is owned by Paul Cobb. Paul is 88, and then there's me. And for our practical purposes, I'm far flung, and I'm not even a me anymore. I'm a corporation where several people own a percentage of Zenny 62 Media's Delaware-based stock. Okay, so and I did this because I crafted Zenny 62 Media as a tech company. That's a whole nother discussion, but I digress. My point regarding the AASCG is that they, pure and simple, um, know that the athletics are simply, and they're going to continue to, and I'm going to repeat this, all right, not sell at all. They have no intention of doing that. In Las Vegas, the team will be worth over $3 billion after the second year of operation, the third year of operation of their Las Vegas ballpark. 3 billion, north of that, a level they've never seen before. Casey Pratt on Twitter said, "Oh, they can sell for 1.2 billion." I'm thinking, no, Casey, that's not how it works. That's not even the proper franchise value multiple they're going to see in Las Vegas. We actually cheated them out of 3 billion. Okay. The A's are making this move because they have waited on the city of Oakland way too long, and it is wrong. I don't care how many times I have to say this. It is wrong to subject any business to a kind of bad economic development process environment that Oakland presents. It doesn't do proper microloans to businesses anymore. It doesn't have any kind of business assistance program like they did when I started working as an intern. We called it they had the Economic Development Corporation of Oakland, and then that became the Oakland Business Development Corporation ran by Arnold Bello. We've always had that kind of assistance program. Those organizations were established through federal government edict, right? But once that money went away, the city didn't get religion and say, we need to maintain this through redevelopment. I wrote way back in 1993 as a Montclarian columnist that economic development is the one tool that Oakland can use to reduce crime. This is 2023. The mayor of Oakland has not gotten that message. She thinks, I want to fight crime, I direct police. It's more complicated than that. But how would she know? She's a layperson. She is not a task force of people that includes the chief of police, the city administrator, the director of economic development. All right. Nothing like that at all. Nothing. And yet you expect to cut crime that way? And you have all these people meeting these town halls after town halls after town halls, expecting something to get done. And I'm telling you, before they do anything more, nothing is going to happen because of the very approach that they take. They don't understand how this works systemically. They don't even know how to think systemically. Indeed, they know how to react and emote, but not think. But the one thing they don't know how to do is to get out of the way, sit down, be overseers, and let the professional public officials do the work for them and make them look good. They want to make themselves look good. They think that their bud judgment is better. And that's why we're in the big mess we're in today. You understand what I'm saying? All right. The Athletics have always coveted the Coliseum property. Always. All right. And it's been of extreme value to the point where I remember Oakland Councilmember Dan Kalb said, hey, the NFL better hurry up and figure out if it's going to stay here, because if they leave, this Coliseum may not be here anymore. They were considering selling it to a tech company or tech investor. All right. So here comes John Fisher and company. And when Mayor Schaaf says, hey, do you want the Howard Terminal for your E&A or Coliseum? They said, we'll take both. And they set up this grand plan, which basically gave them control of most of the flatlands not represented by the Port of Oakland, in terms of, if you think about the waterfront, because they have Howard Terminal and then the Coliseum. All right. And so from a value standpoint, that's a substantial chunk of Oakland's economic development given to one organization. Mayor Schaaf did that and really set the tone for the mess that we're in right now, because she did it without saying, do we have the staff and technical capacity to pull off what the A's want? And the answer was no. And then she didn't ask me, hey, Zenny, you've done this before. Okay. So, help me. I'll hire you. Nothing like that. Indeed, she wanted free advice from me. So
I'm not sure I understand.
all right. And so my point is, you can't run a city like that. But that's what Oakland does. Siri says she's not sure she understands. You know what, Siri, listen to me. I understand. Okay. I understand. All right. The Coliseum is still in the hands of Oakland A's owner, John Fisher, and he is not going to give that up. So the best course for AASEG is to be a co-developer with them. In fact, AASEG needs the athletics investment group. They need them, okay? And don't do that move anymore where they're trying to basically say, hey, we're as big as you are and all this stuff. All right? That's not the point. That just, that just ginned them up and got them angry. That's all that did. It didn't work at all. At all. And so the question is, and I'll get to your, hey, everybody, I'll get to your points now. Hey, Eric Sterling says, hello, Zenny, what is the A's plan for that site if they're moving to Vegas? Well, that's not the point. They're land banking, okay? They want, since they're not the primary developer and AASEG has the other part, and they would prefer that AASEG makes a pitch to them. But instead, Ray Bobbitt and company are trying to move them out of the way. But you have an organization that would be happy to be a co-developer, not looking to move them away. They're probably banking on the idea that since they haven't done anything, they don't have any money, which is the wrong idea for the athletics to have. But hey, they haven't seen anything yet either. Okay. So Adino says more officials posing for photographs like the mayor at the All-Star game. Yep. Support Black media. Eric says, what is wrong with political structure in Oakland? I really feel for the people of Oakland. The problem is that we created something called Strong Mayor, and we did it because Jerry Brown, a statewide, a celebrity around the world, well known in America primarily, three times he ran for president of the United States, I believe. Governor twice, known for dating Linda Ronstadt, coming up with ideas like Moonbeam and everything else. All right. Jerry wasn't taken seriously as a presidential candidate. So I really would love to know how he actually came to this decision, but I know that he came to Oakland, started We the People, this radio show, bought this 2 million square foot complex at 2nd and Harrison, which is one part community center, one part home, one part resort in the middle of the city. And slowly planted the seeds from 1994 to 98 of community ties, and then starting in 98, let it be known early on that he wanted to run for mayor, actually 97. And 98 he really got going. I met with he and Jacques Bargagi a lot. They were sponges in talking to me, but the minute they won the prize of being mayor, they literally turned on me. And what I thought I was going to get from them, like for example, a position in his office, they didn't offer. They stole Forest City from me. I'm the person that brought Forest City Development Company to Oakland via presentation at the International Council of Shopping Center Spring Convention in 1997. And I remember riding with Greg Vilkin, who was a deputy with Forest City, who was in charge of the project in Oakland. And just as we were passing the part of Lakeshore, just before you get to 19, where 19th come where 15th comes in and runs into Lake Merritt. Um, right at about six Madison, where Madison comes in and runs into Lake Merritt. Just as we came to that point, I remember him saying, "Yeah, well, Jerry wants to do housing," and the original plan was to do a Times Square of the West Coast. That's how we had conceived it. That's what we discussed. Now, it doesn't mean the housing couldn't have gone there. And if I could have, altered my thinking, and I were more crafty rather than steadfast, I was young, I would have turned around and said, okay, that's great. We could fit housing into what we're trying to do. Let me share that with you. Right. That's what I should have done. But Jerry had an even bigger uh, objective for that. But the problem is that Jerry didn't see, he wasn't a mixed use development guy. He wasn't really sophisticated in terms of development. He literally was trying to do Negro removal. That's a fact. That's what Jerry Brown was trying to do. There were 6,681 people who lived in downtown Oakland when Jerry Brown moved to Oakland. And but it was well known that downtown Oakland wasn't something a well-money white person considered living in because there wasn't any market rate housing. We had redevelopment, but the idea was if we had more white people with money, that it would drive our real estate effort and make it easier for us to get real estate. Oakland's tried to get real estate in its downtown for decades. It had it back in the 50s with Liberty House, but as manufacturing left Oakland, the stores closed. So that by the late 70s, Oakland's downtown was on its way to decline. City Center had not been finished. It wouldn't be substantially constructed until Glenn Isaacson took over and ran what's called Bromley Development Company, or was called. I met him in 1988 and built this multi-building complex that's punctuated by what is called the APL building at 1111 Broadway and the ASK building at the other side of what I call the campus, which is kitty corner across the street from the gym that I believe is still Club One, and which in turn is also across the street from the federal building, which is another linchpin development we got because George Williams was negotiating for the right to have that built. George Williams is our redevelopment director at the time. This goes back to 1986. And he basically reminded that the federal government that San Francisco had a more alternative lifestyle at the time, something you can't get away with today. But that's what he did. And he managed to get it, the federal building that you see in Oakland, he managed to get the approval away from San Francisco using that argument. Okay. So that became the downtown nexus where I worked as an intern on Clay Street near the corner of Clay and 14th is now called the Elihu Harris State Building, name of my boss's name, a former boss and friend. And so that government nexus there uh, was a perfect place around which to build housing. So ideally, Oakland government employees get housing around downtown, and that did happen to a degree as well. But Jerry had later said that he didn't want uh, assisted housing, as he saw it, housing where you're trying to lower the rents in his elegant downtown. He actually made that statement in the year 2020, basically confirming what a number of people had believed all the way back in the year 1999 and 2000 when he first became mayor. And the question about Jerry was, hey, you know what? You're behaving in a way that's racist. And he would bristle at that. He particularly bristled at it because I called him out on it, or at least in an email to my Super Bowl board. And he fired me for saying that he wasn't comfortable with someone black who was intellectually aggressive. And that's exactly what I wrote in the email. Like my white friend counterparts, and I stand by that because he wasn't. And so, and it, unfortunately, it got to him, or fortunately, and he later apologized to me, thanks to Phil Tagami. But the simple fact of the matter is that his action took away what should have been my jump to a bigger job in Oakland, and it was Bill Claggett, who's economic development director, whose job I actually wanted. Um, First felt bad that when Robert Bob told me to go over, when he was the city manager, told me to go over and talk with him at Max's Opera Cafe. And you say, what does all this have to do with AASEG? The answer, folks, is everything. I'm well aware of what I'm saying. I'm not going off on a tangent. All these are interconnected, but I digress. Point is, and Bill said, go talk to Claggett. Claggett said, so many words, you talk like you think you know everything. And I said, Bill, I've talked like this since I was 6 years old. I just know what I know, but I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but this is who I am. And I thought, I'm gone. I'm out of here. So after the lunch at Max's, which is a city center, which is no longer there, I went back to my office, which is on the 11th floor, City Hall, thinking I'm out of here. This was late in 1998, going into 1999, and before Christmas. And I ran into Robert, and Robert said, how'd it go with Claggett? And I said, it didn't go well. He says, I talk like I think I know everything. And Mr. Bob, as we call him, still call him, said, you do talk like you think you know everything. You're young, you're black, you're smart, you're a threat. And basically he read that's the advantage of having a black man as a boss when you're young black man coming through the ranks. Okay. And I'm saying it just like that. Because that person understands your walk and understands what you're going through, and they recognize it, and you didn't even know it. And I didn't know he recognized he got it like that. And so I right then said, I'll stay and work for you, because he had offered me a job as a consultant. And that's how I was in place to wind up helping him and then eventually running the Super Bowl effort. You see? Okay. So all of that. And then prior to that, we were planning to go to the International Council of Shopping Center Spring Convention yet again. And at that time, Jerry was working with John Protopopoulos and others and the planning people, and they were forming what was called the 10K project. And then they hired me to help with that. I called all the real estate and developer folks that I knew, and I had a 2-day design symposium in my office. I had a pretty big spread, okay, in the middle of it. It was a great, 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 great event. I mentioned it here before. So what I'm explaining to you in a nutshell is what I've learned thanks to Oakland is the process of how to do economic development in Oakland. Whereas the people that Libby hired like Claudia Capio, had never done economic development in the Oakland context, and Molly Mayburn hadn't either, and was totally unfamiliar with tax increment financing and the nuances of what we call redevelopment, because it was a dormant law that, guess what, had been brought back under these new laws paced by SB 628 Beal, signed into law by Jerry Brown. They called it the son of redevelopment, September 15th of 2015. Okay. So all of this lays the groundwork for where we are today in terms of your question, because it was strong mayor that was really designed for Jerry. Jerry didn't want to come to the city council. So he and his aides and his political consultants designed Measure X. Measure X won in November along with Jerry. So Jerry's election got with it a wholesale change in Oakland's government. We are living literally in Jerry's world. We are literally living in Jerry Brown's world to this day. Jerry Brown's legacy is the strong mayor system as he had it. He wasn't the first one to try to do it. Elihu did too with Measure F, but he failed because white business owners didn't want a black man having that kind of power. That's just a fact. But they were happy to give it to Jerry, who then also said he was going to destroy the black political system in Oakland, which, if you really know, Oakland really isn't classically black. It's more mixed. Like, for example, Lionel Wilson's wife was white, and, everybody's mixed up and all that. That's the beauty of Oakland that people don't want to talk about. Well, unless they're from Oakland, but it's true. And so, let me get to your comments here. But, and so Eric says, like I said, Zinni last sweep and lip service, really sad to see. Yeah. It says Jerry Brown, who killed the A's in California and Oakland for that matter. True. 2002, May 14th, 12:35 in the afternoon, Jerry Brown said there's not going to be a ballpark in my blankety blanking ballpark in downtown Oakland as long as I'm blankety blank mayor. Zinni, could the strong mayor tactic have been changed after he left? It could have, but there was no sunset. But see, the reason why it's there is something that Elihu said to me when he tried his version of it. Keep in mind, okay, which was different because Elihu's version had, and it wasn't just Elihu either. So it's not fair for me to point on Elihu. The late Richard Winnie, one of my mentors, who was Alameda County Council, and then before that, attorney Wendell Rosenblatt and Dean, got together with then District 4 Councilmember Dick Spees, and they had a series of meetings, public meetings anyone could come to, but it was so esoteric, only a handful of people, including myself, showed up, about reforming the city to have a more responsive government. Because the idea was that the council manager form of government wasn't working. But he was always fond of saying, Zinni, I can count to 5. I know how to get my 5 votes as mayor, 5 council votes to override the city council, or even to fire the city council if he chose to do so. Okay. Elihu's nemesis, then friend, was Ignacio de la Fuente, who was great union leader. He was the forerunner of the kind of union politics you see today. And Ignacio did a great job of lifting economic development fortunes in the Latino community in Oakland, lifting visibility and scoring some points. He along with Elihu brought the Raiders back to Oakland. But it was the existence of the council manager form of government and Ignacio's power within it that caused a number of people to say, we need a system where the mayor is absolutely accountable, like any other big city. You see, something else that has to be, remembered in all of this is that Oakland has longed to be a big city, to challenge San Francisco. There are people like me who desired for Oakland to overtake San Francisco. The late Warren Chip Brown, the publisher of the Hills newspaper group in the Montclair, where I had my first writing job. My background's in urban planning, as you all know. Felt like precisely, we're both Cal grads, felt exactly the same way. So We saw Oakland that had a convention center, a challenge San Francisco, the whole 9 yards, right? But there are people today who, and you can tell my Oakland's development, don't want that. Our convention center downtown is still 150,000 square feet. The convention industry in the Bay Area and the West Coast and the country and around the world has changed manyfold. We have literally stood still. All right. That's why I put out the, hey, Howard Terminal, there should be a convention center there. Mike Jacob sent me an email reminding me that, well, because of the court edict, that if when the A's move, Howard Terminal will revert back to port status. But my point is fine, because you know what, folks? On the 26th of September, one of the largest maritime conventions will be held in Houston. It should be in Oakland. So there's a better argument for us to have a convention center at Howard Terminal and have water come in and have it kind of, maritime oriented in a ballpark. But you see, when I raise the idea, there's always this, well, we can't do that. There's always getting to know in Oakland. We don't have a getting to yes, and it's torn us apart. There's so much stagnation that the Coliseum looks like a high school gymnasium. And then the city announces we've taken $2.5 million from the Coliseum because they were making extra money. That's 1/8 of their budget, their revenue. Okay. I mean, the stuff that's going on is absolutely ridiculous. It really is. The Coliseum looks like a high school gym, glorified. It's a mess. It's ugly. You get the idea. All right. I always knew that Jerry Brown had some questionable bias. Never a fan. He says, Jerry never cared about Oakland. It was just linchpin for him to run for governor again. I want to say something misconstrued. I don't hate Jerry Brown at all. I like Jerry a lot because he's part of history. And I had the honor of working for him, working with him, and knowing him. And, my friend Marcus, who's Black, took my approach, I think, with some umbrage because he lived with Jerry. But see, he did something because Jerry's a celebrity. He recognized that Marcus did and had his own, company, janitorial company. But he really got into good graces with Jerry. He humbled Jerry. He was humble around Jerry, but not spineless. Marcus was an outstanding person, great brother. Okay, I haven't seen him in a long time. So he was, and we talked about this. He did it right. But see, I wanted to be recognized for my talent. I didn't want to have to be somebody I felt I wasn't. Okay, and if it was obvious that I could do a big project better than anybody else, just let me do it because I was knocking them down. All right. If I were white, because I would see, for example, Nicolo De Luca, they made him public works director at a very young age, and other people were saying he has no business being public works director. Sorry, Nicolo, but that was true. All right. Nicolo's dad, Joe De Luca, was a great friend of mine. Came over to my office one day in his convertible Jag, honking his horn. Zinny, come on down. 11 stories. So I'm going down. He goes, I'm going to make you an honorary Italian. He took me to one of my most incredible experiences of my entire life. 3-hour lunch in North Beach with some of the most legendary figures in San Francisco's Italian history among real estate developers and landowners. I had a blast. And oh boy, wonderful food at North Beach Restaurant. Downstairs had excellent espresso over at what was Cafe, if half name flew out of my mind. They've since unfortunately closed. Cafe, not Milano, but Milano, but they've since closed, unless maybe they reopened. But I had a blast. Nicolo's father showed me a slice of life that most people don't get to see. And that's because I work for LAU. This is okay. Had a lot of great moments in my life and still do. My greatest moments being my own. But my point is, all right, let me get back to your pushes. Appreciate you get it. You get a little history lesson with me because, hey, I'm a man of a certain age. Go. So there you go. Oakland needs an upgraded convention center, especially when it comes to Comic Con. And yeah, if I were in charge, I would push for that 600,000 square foot convention center, and then I would go about stealing Comic Con from San Diego. Convention center with a 1,000 room hotel. Okay. And I would yank them from, hey, get in here. I love Comic Con. It should be in Oakland. Nothing gets my Comic Con friends in San Diego. Something tells me, Shurchai says, that when Oakland gets approved for expansion, the city will just point to the Coliseum site. They were never serious about Howard Terminal. They weren't serious, period. Okay, they're not serious now. You want to know, all right, you want to know if somebody's serious about something is when they start directing money toward it and designs. Look at how the mayor's office is doing it. For example, let's take the whole East Oakland Black Initiative. Supposedly $100 million of private money. But wait, where's the government match? So that you know, okay, that this thing has going to be sustainable. That 100 million is a wish. There's no 100 million laying around. All right. Let's be real. It's not there. So, but Shang shows up. I'm totally behind this and everything else. Well, yeah, but are you putting up the money? No, she's not. Excuse me. She's not. So, what do you think about the policy, the mayor requesting the A's name stay in Oakland if they continue to use the Coliseum? That's ridiculous because, look, the Nevada legislature has already made its decision. And from a sports league's perspective, guess what? What you want is the approval of the government. That's what Major League Baseball got from the Nevada legislature. It didn't get that from the Oakland City Council. I don't care what Shang says. I don't care what white-owned media she gets on. The simple fact is all she is doing from Major League Baseball's perspective is this. They know Oakland is valuable. That's why they want to hold on to it. Okay. They have made no moves to alter that because the Bay Area is still a valuable media market. Just the way it is. It may be valued less because of people leaving it and everything else it hasn't done, but its natural location and population size and everything else makes everybody turn around and say, well, gee, what's wrong with it? And then naturally you have to focus on the government. Major League Baseball knows it. You know it. I lived it. Right. So what I think is that Shang should have said when it became time for the A's when they got the vote, she should have had a press conference and said the A's are leaving, and therefore we're going to have the A's here an extra year because not an extra year, but their year to finish out their lease. But we are going to pursue an expansion team or a relocation team. We're going to have a package laid out. We're going to have a plan to refurbish the Coliseum. We're going to establish tax increment financing. And basically, we're going to continue to do what we were going to do for them. We're going to keep the party going because that kind of announcement would have sent an earthquake through baseball. So, oh my God, this is different. They're actually going to do this on spec, right? Because no one's done that. Well, some have, but few have done that before. All right. But Shang decided to play teenager and act like she's, pissed off and, I didn't get my toy and everything. And, I'm going to lie to you and I'm going to call you names and yada, yada, yada. And all these other people were following along her because that's how they do social media. That doesn't do anything at all. It does nothing. So what you get, you get a lot of bots hammering at each other. That's it. And it makes money for the owner of the social media platform. Ta-da. Okay. So, but you get nothing else. Eric says, just like there's no 425 million. No, there wasn't. So you didn't do tax increment financing. If you start actually doing the numbers there, you add up the sea level rise platform that was needed to be done, which is supposed to be 375 million, and the community benefits right there. Okay. You're already looking at about $800 million in costs that you have to pay for straight out if you're going to do community benefits. You could have knocked it down and made it more coherent. The A said they're going to pay for their infrastructure. So now you have to do on-site. So that's where you do tax increment financing. But if you're looking at $800 million in bondable revenue that you can employ for a bond issue, you do it. You don't walk away from that, because then you can turn on and get your $300 million grants and all this. And next thing you know, you're looking at some really good money to do city building with, and put out the RFP to get developers to help the A's, and you'll be good to go. But see, the city should be doing that anyway. All right. But the city is too, developer as celebrity oriented, particularly if they own sports teams, and it gets the city in trouble all the time. All of this has happened because of the existence of strong mayor. It's time to get rid of that system. It's time to get rid of a system that was really designed for one person, Jerry Brown, more than any, because the other version, Measure F, failed at the polls. Did you know that? Elihu didn't get his version, but Jerry got his. All right. But we really, no one saw this coming. We were all, everybody who's been active in Oakland is active because they say Oakland has potential, because everybody's frustrated. And the frustration has reached unprecedentedly gargantuan heights, which makes it harder for people to work with each other, because their very lives have been impacted by the negative economic development problem that Oakland has. People have been killed. All right. Robbed. All right. Stalked, threatened. We're on pace for 400 carjackings this year, a record. All right. So we have to really rethink what we're doing. I don't see an NMWA coming to this market with all turmoil. Well, not only that, I'm going to make a vlog about this too. Do you know that WNBA, like 3 weeks ago, very quietly announced that they were going to visit Denver? Oh, no Oakland. No Oakland. Okay. No Oakland. And then rumors got around that the mayor held an emergency meeting because Southwest was reportedly planning or considering to leaving Oakland. All right. Someone says, not going to get all the flights out of there. But look, if you have people coming into Oakland and their lives are being threatened, the Southwest could very well be on the hook for a giant lawsuit if something bad happened and then continuously happened and Southwest did nothing to warn people, we even not go there. But I think this leak was designed to scare the heck out of Oakland's mayor. So you need to get your act together. All right. You cannot run a city, and you shouldn't run a city the way Oakland's ran it. So I'll be back to talk about it more. It is now 2:15 in the morning here, which means it's what, 11? Yeah. 2:15 here, which means it's 11:15 in Oakland. All right. Live long and prosper. I'll be back with more. I've got a lot to say. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.